Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Debugging Maths. And very quickly, let's look at how to multiply correctly in Matrix. Matrix multiplication is really simple and it's probably the easiest thing you do in Matrix. So take for example, you have these matrix now. How do you multiply them? So if you're asked A times B, what is A times B? So very easy, A times B. All you need to do is follow this pattern. You multiply row, the first A here, because that's what I was starting with, A, this matrix A, multiply the row by the first column and multiply this same row by the next column. So if it has multiple columns, it can have, let's say B has other columns, maybe like 5 columns. Take this first row, multiply them by all the columns individually. Take the next row, multiply them by all the columns individually. Kind of like this pattern, like this and like this. Don't forget this pattern. You multiply the first row by the column, multiply it again by the column, multiply it again by the column, and then you take the next row like this, multiply it by the next column, column by column, like that. So that will give you your answer. So let's try this one together. Take it step by step and easy. So take this first row and multiply it by this column. So let's take it together. 2 times 1 is 2 plus, that's the procedure, you add it because it's still the same thing. 4 times 2 is 8, and that is all with the first one. Now we'll move again, take this same row and multiply it by the next column. That will be 2 times 1, that is 2, plus 4 times 2 again, that is 8. See? So now take the next row and multiply by the column each. So 1 times 1, take it carefully, that's 1. 1 times 1, that's 1. Plus, remember, because we're dealing with this section now, 2 times 2. 2 times 2, that is 4. And we're done with this side. Now, take this same row and multiply by the next column. 1 times 1, that is 1. Plus 2 times 2, like this and like this. 2 times 2, which is 4. So now we can add up. So our final answer will be 8 plus 2, which is 10, also 5. So that is the answer. So that's A times B. Notice that this A times B, I cannot switch them. This A times B is different. It is separate. It is its own order. So it is not the same as. So notice that in multiplication, it's not like addition. In addition, we have the liberty of switching them. But in multiplication, the order is very relevant. The order is very important. A times B is not the same. It's not the reverse. It's not B times A. This is a different order completely. So take note, if they're asking you A times B, they seriously mean A times B. Don't switch it and accidentally say, okay, B times A. Follow the procedure, the order, like that. So let's take another one. So what is this times this now? Let me put the braces here. So this times this matrix now will be, multiply the row by the column. So that will be 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 times 1 is 1. Very simple. Take it step by step. Multiply these 2 by these 2. Simple, right? Next, multiply these 2 by these 2. Row and column, row and column. So now 3 times 2 is 6, plus this one now 1 times 1, that is 1. Then next, this row by this column, this row by this column. 2 times 1 is 2, plus this one now by this one. 1 times 1 is 1. And then lastly, 2 times 2 again is 4, like this, like this. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 1 plus 1. And then all we need to do is just add them together. Now, let's assume I added an extra row to this. Let's assume I added an extra row to this. Can you see this? What order is this? This order now is a 2 by 2. Why this order now is a 3 by 2 matrix? Now, if we try to multiply them row by column, right, you will notice that this row is 2 and this one is 3. We cannot multiply. This one is too short for this one. This one has 3 rows. This one just has 2 elements multiplying 1 to 3. It is not possible. You see, they might bring this up to test your understanding of multiplication. So it means that even though we have stated that you can multiply matrices different order, you can multiply different order by different order, note something, that the only time you can multiply two matrices together is when they have the same. Okay, so what if I delete 2 rows from this one now? Now you can see this other one. Now we need to multiply this first row by the column, but look, we can't multiply it because this row here, we have to trying to multiply just one. It's not possible, right? So whenever you see a question like this, like I said, they're just trying to test your understanding on multiplication. So take note of this while you solve and practice. So now this is a 3 by 3 matrix and this is a 3 by 3 matrix. So they are both square matrices. Now let us multiply them step by step. It's exactly the same thing with 2 by 2, like what we did. Multiply the first row by the first column, multiply the first row by the second column, multiply this same first row by the last third column. So let's try it. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus, like we said, 1 times 1 is 1, and lastly 1 times 1 is still 1. So we just multiply this row by this column. Now let's go to the next one. Now this same row multiplied by the next column. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 times 2 is 2. And then this same row multiplied by the last column. 2 times 2 is 4, 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, and 1 multiplied by 1 is still 1. The second row multiplied by this first column, the same thing, just keep multiplying it by the columns like that. So let's try it. 3 times 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus 2 times 1 is 1, is 2. Then the next one, now multiply this by this. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 times 2 is 4. And the last one, we can multiply this same row by the last column, the same procedure. So 3 times 2 again is 6, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus 2 times 1 is 2. This same row multiplied by this column. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus 4 times 1 is 4. This same row multiplied by the second column. 2 times 2 is 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 times 3 is 3, plus 4 times 2 is 8. And lastly, this same row multiplied by the last column. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus 4 times 1 is 4. So now all we need to do is just add them, all the elements together. So 4 plus 1 plus 1, that will be 6, and like that, like that, like that. So here will be 6, and then all we need to do is add the rest like that. So A times B is this. Don't forget, A times B is not the same thing as the reverse, B times A. So don't forget that rule. So guys, that's all there is to it about multiplication of matrices. Make sure you keep practicing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.